how do you monitor trends, how do you consistently support it. So one of the key strategies that that we have in place, is ensuring that there is a 3-year plan in place that can demonstrate the real impact that will emerge from any support that we have. We need really mapped out well the landscape. We sit in the space where we're private sector. We have priorities that are deeply connected to what we do as a for-profit organization. However, that does not limit us as an institution. As many people know, there is Google.org, which is more or less a non-profit arm, and we have done some significant investments, particularly over the last year, last 2 to 3 years on the African continent. How many of you here in the room know about the Google.org Impact Challenge that happened in Africa for the first time? Yes. Overall, about 36 different organizations across South Africa, Nigeria, and Kenya had infusions of about $2 million each that spoke specifically to what they were doing, not in any way connected to the work that we do. So we have that role as well. However, around the work that we do, I mentioned access, content, and education. We are consistently invested in those spaces, and not necessarily invested just in civil society, but in smaller institutions, social enterprises. And I have found that social enterprises, there's an extra push to what they do, in that there is a very specific strategy around ensuring there's a sustainability, whether or not funding comes from any of the ones that you have mapped out. And the third layer is just simply being able to fund the work of civil society. And that's something that we're consistent with. So, in summary, being very clear around the nomenclature you're using is one of the things that I've found. So who hasn't been used? But then 2 is ensuring that there's a sustainability around it. Those are the key things that we continue to map to as a whole.
And we've seen that the budget for internet freedom programs has risen and continued to rise over the past few years and for the next couple of years for which we've had budget discussions. So one thing I would note is to, again, encourage civil society to continue to explore those types of programs, but also, I think a point to which Titi alluded was, kind of on the flip side of your comment, I think a lot of groups who work in this space around internet freedom have sometimes become focused only on internet freedom solicitations. And I would say that for a bureau like mine at DRL, as I mentioned before, we also have regional colleagues, we have other thematic colleagues, and because I think one thread of commonality that we've heard through all of the great panels yesterday and today during this conference is that internet freedom issues are human rights issues, and they touch upon everyone's daily lives, everyone's daily work. So I would also very strongly encourage civil society, to look even beyond the growing internet funding, internet freedom funding, to also consider how they can insert their narratives surrounding internet freedom and digital rights into other kind of areas of funding as well. I would say that for our internet freedom team, one of our many hats that we wear within our office and within the State Department is actually educating our colleagues on what internet freedom looks like and what internet freedom programming does on a day-to-day basis. So on the civil society end as well, I would encourage you all to be creative in thinking about what opportunities you look to apply to, because I think that the space and the opportunity for funding a lot of the types of programs that you're implementing, there's a lot of interest for that, even outside of the internet freedom space. So that's just something I would provide as food for thought for you all.
Okay. If you're coming to me as a civil society and you come to me with a proposal that says, oh, you want to put computers in schools, I'm the wrong person you're talking to. We don't put computers in schools. However, if you come to me with a narrative around building digital skills and enabling the digital economy, then we can talk. Because then the first thing for me is it demonstrates you understand who it is you're asking for money, right? Don't come to me asking for me to fund paintings when it doesn't have anything in connection. But if you come to me recognizing that we do Google Arts and Culture, and there's an opportunity for us to engage, then we can have a conversation. So know the person you're talking to. so that you can actually frame it in a language that they understand. I think it speaks to what I said earlier as well. So there is that. But on the second layer is also being able to recognize what the trends are. As far as is possible, we don't follow trends. However, there are certain trends that you need to be able to engage with. A good example, fake news. I'm of the opinion fake news is not news. It's not new news. We've just given it somebody that I do not like at all's nomenclature. Fake news has been known as gossip. It's been known as a range of things. It's been known as misinformation. What else do we call it? So these are things that have been in place. However, because they are digital platforms, they have become extrapolated. So ensuring that you frame that the right really does make a difference as well.
Let's move to the next one. So the second question is linked to the first question, and I think you've answered it in a bit, right? Are you saying that we typically submit substandard proposals to you? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that? So are we saying that? Okay, without really going into the details, right? We could just like do a mental map of like the past 5 years or 3 years, the kind of proposal that we've sent to you, right? And as in, yeah, and can you just do you perceive like a training gap or something that we need?
The diplomatic answer is the quality has greatly improved from what I've known it to be. Is there a training gap? Absolutely. But that is also the lack of capacity or the non-growth in the ability to churn out really great SOIs or proposals is very much also hampered by the fact that most of the non-civil society is really stretched. In an ideal world, you would have all those layers that you've mentioned. However, and I say this as someone who has worked in the civil society sector, worked in the private sector, worked in academia, is that where you didn't have the really great skills to get poached by the private sector. Sorry. But that is what typically happens, and that is not necessarily a transference of those set of skills. As such, so there is that stretch capacity in as much as you want to be able to respond and have access to really great sources of funding, like when you get from the State Department or from the DRL, etc. The processes are exceedingly onerous.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to be able to put out there, and I'm saying it as someone from the private sector, that the processes can be exceedingly onerous. If you're a well-established institution, introduced, you can access some of those funding. However, that is not the case for probably 90% of the non-profit institutions that engage in this space. So that's something that I firmly believe those who provide sources of funding, whether large grants or really small grants, needs to reflect on. In my role, a lot of what I have done is a bit of a mix. I'm consistently on the lookout. I used to love my anonymity a lot. It's not been the case. I'm increasingly less anonymous. The person to blame is somewhere in this room. Such that I spent a lot of time in the community, attending conferences, whether I spoke or not, or actually just being in the space and listening and engaging with institutions so that I could then drill down. And I would get sometimes by that point, proposals that come from them that you can tell it's either a language issue or it's just an issue of, just a little bit of what in English you would call polishing that's required to get them to that point. And in some cases, where you recognize that there's a great nugget of an idea, you will spend the time helping to nurture that or direct them to institutions that they can partner with that makes it a stronger proposal.
So if you have questions, I'll take maybe 7 now. Questions, if you know, 1. Any questions for our panelists?
Now, I got a little bit confused when you say that if I'm to come to your office, I'm supposed to write a proposal for 3 years, or I have to do a specific thing. So, what can I do? Because in most cases, I wanted something urgently so that I solve a certain issue. For instance, cattle raiding. The community Y and P are been fighting for issue of cattle raiding, but I need them to be in peace. So if you are talking about 3 years proposal, or you only want a specific thing that about computer, because you work for IT, you want a computer, so how can that be? How will you help the community? So I think that's going to be a big problem for my work, and that's going to be a big problem for civil society. It will be much better if your office can also look into different issues, different angles. Like if it is not an IT, you cannot assist. Another question is about to our sister from the US department. Most of the civil society, as I speak today in my home country, are not permanent. We are just working voluntarily. And for now, most of the projects have been shifted from developmental issues to humanitarian. So are there other possible ways that I can get funding? Because I need to get funding. I need to get, I really need money.
My challenge has been access to computers and skills and expatriates, I could say, like people who know that skill. So I tried to do a digital training course, a Google digital training course. But I was told it's only for people in South Africa. Like if I do it, I can't be certified to train. So I'm wondering, do I have to go to South Africa to get certified? Or is that program going to be brought in Uganda? That's specifically for Google. And then, as you said, you don't want us to say we want computers, but that's the truth, we want them. So how do we tailor the words so that they perfectly fit you?
Yeah. If you can't respond to that question already, you just don't, just ask around. It comes across like you want me to engage with you, but you've not taken the time to know me. To the basics of it, that's not how a relationship works. And my reference to sustainability, send me a proposal of 3 years, is as a rule, I don't fund events. You see the Google label on this conference? It's not based on the fact that Drift is happening as an event. No, we don't do that as Google. It's based on the relationship with Paradigm Initiative is going on 7 years now. It's based on sustained relationship, where I want to be able to particularly see, you're not just asking me for funding to have another great gathering. In relation to what? That is not how you create consistent systemic change. So if, in your example, there is a conflict area and there's a role that digital can play in bringing about peace, then we engage. There's something that we've done with, again, Google. We need to get better at communicating the great stuff that we do. But we've been doing extensive work in Kenya, for example, with Hangouts Bridges, with the communities that are at war across the border, the various borders that surround Kenya. That's what we do. We use the power of technology to help young people better understand and change the narrative around, okay, you might have been brought up to think all folks from the northern part of Kenya are horrible, but this is how it's different. You and I are the same. That becomes relevant to me. But if you come to me with a proposal saying you want to stop the conflict between two communities, they are at war, give us money so that it's not relevant. I think I made that point. To your other point, no, you don't need to be in South Africa to be able to do the training. Absolutely not. You can actually just do a Google search for Digital Skills Africa. You can do the trainings online. However, to become a certified trainee, you need to go through a rigorous process. We are very, very particular. We're not fly-by-night. We're not one of those who do a press release and say they're going to pay $1 million or 10 million and then that's it. So to date, as Google, we have trained about 3.5 million people across the continent. For every single person, I can trace where they were trained, for how long they were trained, and what they're doing afterwards. I'm very, very specific about being able to demonstrate impact. It means you need to sink in money. So we cannot have people who have done the training online then go on and say, oh, I'm a certified trainer. No. For you to carry that label, you need to go through rigorous training. Because again, remember, we're associating our brand with a very particular standard, and that must not shift at the end of the day. I think those were the two key questions. Am I missing any?
I know, Mrs. Titi, I appreciate your bluntness, but I still have a question in that light. I wish to run a campaign to not only offer digital devices like smartphones to refugees, Nigerian refugees who fled Boko Haram in Cameroon, but also to train them how to use these tools, and I'm targeting the ladies. And so I want to ask if I can partner with Google to give me technical advice as to how to do that training, and also do I have to wait for a call for applications, or is it like I can just go and apply? I can just go and apply to Google without waiting for calls of applications? That's my question.
How do you manage, for example, receiving 3 proposals from different people from Article 19? Do you want to deal with Article 19 as a single institution, or you don't mind if Article 19 sends you, if different folks working on different thematic subject areas send you different proposals from the same institution? How do you manage that kind of situation? Thank you.
Oh, your question about getting multiple applications from the same organization? I think that really depends on your funder. I get questions when we have open calls about that. We don't see an issue. It looks weird if we get 7 applications to the same organization about multiple different things. It then feels like your organization is just like throwing things out there and seeing what sticks, as opposed to doing something that is true to their mission and strategic for you. So I think if you're sending multiple applications, be clear about why you're doing that.
It's not our role, it's not what we do as Google. However, you need to spend a bit more time looking at google.org, right? You know, I referred to it earlier, the non-profit arm of Google, that has periodic calls for proposals, ongoing calls sometimes, right? And the third layer, there's the possibility that there might be existing initiatives that you can plug into that speak specifically to digital skills.
So, thank you, and lunch is served. Please, you go to the ground floor. But please notice, between 1:30 and 2:30 strictly, so 1 hour. So just try to keep it on between that 1 hour space. Thank you, and have a nice, brief 2019 as it goes today. Thank you very much.